Hello and welcome to episode 288 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Joining me as always is the glorious League Freak. You can also find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going amazing, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, look, I'm not doing too bad. Not too bad.
That's
for
good.
Monday.
Yeah. We've changed up our record schedule a little bit because we wanted to.
Yeah. Basically because I forgot what day of the week it is these days.
And what else? Oh, yeah, the last episode was so good, we decided to give it a bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, that was a stunner.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of stunning, you should
Yes.
see our balls, people.
Exactly. You know what? If you go to manscaped.com and you put in the code NRL, you get 20% off and free shipping of everything on the manscaped.com website. The thing to get, I reckon, at the moment is the performance package, because in the performance package, you get the Lawnmower 3.0, which is your ball trimmer, basically. You get the Weed Whacker, which is for your ear and nose hair trimmer, which is pretty amazing. That's like riding the lightning. You get your Crop Preserver, which is the anti-chafing ball deodorant. And then you get your Crop Reviver, which is your ball spray toner, because you've got to have your balls toned. You get the Magic Mat, which is a must. But then you get two free gifts. You get basically a little travel bag, which is really cool to keep everything in. And then you get the Manscaped boxes, which are the microfiber boxes, which I swear by. I love them. You get all of that in the one thing. Like, you don't need anything else. So go to manscaped.com, look at the performance package, put in the code NRL, which is our exclusive code for you, and get 20% off and free shipping. What more do you want?
I'll tell you what more they want.
Mm-hmm.
They want Ask Do an Ask Kenty episode.
Excellent. I'm ready. My body is ready.
We should do this.
Yeah.
So these are going to be a few from last week included in here as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's not going to be focused on what happened last week too much.
Yeah.
The first one comes from Vic Sophius. He says, Jesse Ramian gets a 3-match suspension for his hit on Matt Duffy. Why can't one of those 3 games be held over until the 2 teams meet again? The only teams that benefit are the ones that play the Sharks in the next 3 games.
Yeah, this is like a long held belief by people going back to 1908, and what are you going to do? Like, sort out, like, all the suspensions and things are already as complicated as they could make them. You don't want to have to use an abacus to work out who's playing when and why.
I agree. I think I've said it before, and I know people are going to disagree, but I just think if something is deemed worthy of being put on report, then you might as well give that person 10 in the bin. I don't care how minor it is. And that way you get rid of this whole argument of, we don't get anything out of it because they get suspended and they miss next week. You get 10 minutes.
Well, did you see that the Kyle Felt tackle we talked about in the last episode?
Mm-hmm.
He got suspended for like 2 weeks for that tackle, but he did 2 of them, the exact same, and they only got him for 1 of them, which was kind of weird.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, it really is, hey?
If you wanted to suspend him for that, because there's no malicious intent in there to put him on his head.
No.
It's a fucking gun tackle, and he lands him on his back. I'd give him no more than 90 points, so you just say, you know what, you're sailing close to the win, mate, and that's it.
That would make more sense. But I was like you, I just thought it was a great tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Chase Christensen asked, do you think Wayne Bennett will retire from coaching after this season?
I thought he had plans after this season.
Probably does. It's probably more coaching.
Yeah. From memory, I thought he was leaving South, and then he had something in mind. I don't know what it was. I wouldn't be shocked if he was the backup plan for the second Brisbane team, hey?
Exactly. Maybe he'll go to the West Tigers.
Imagine that.
That'll fuck his average, Tony. Manuka Performance asks, Kenty, does Ben Eichen dye his hair black?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've seen a Ben Eichen. It does feel like it's the very same colour across his hair.
Eichen would be getting on a bit now. You'd think there'd be a bit of pepper starting to come through.
You'd think so, yeah. You know, the giveaway is when, like, their hair is just all the same colour, because no one's hair's like that.
No, he's 44 years old. He's not as old as I thought he would be.
Wow.
So he's almost the same age as Paul Gallen.
Yeah.
And Cameron Smith.
Yeah, line them up.
Exactly. Liam Turner says, when will a decision be made on Bronson Cherry? I believe the decision has been made.
Yeah, if it hasn't been made official, it's going to come down very soon. And yeah, he's got 4 years.
Yeah. There was some sort of article which came up recently, and he was talking about how he got into a dark place and was getting depressed and that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, you know, I find it hard to feel sorry for him. Yeah, it sucks that you're going through that, but, you know, you dug that hole yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll give him credit. He wasn't trying to get sympathy from people. He completely owned the fact that he made a mistake, and it was all on him. But, you know, it was a typical Danny Weidel puff piece.
Yeah, he likes to polish their knobs, hey?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Grumpy says that for once he agrees with Paul Kent, and this is on a tweet where Paul Kent was going on about Ryan Madison reportedly looking to make moves on his contract. Apparently, he said Parramatta fans will burn the joint down because no one's ever left a contract at Parramatta before.
Yeah, it's like we talked about that. I think it was maybe in the last episode. It's kind of silly, and you know, if his agent wasn't looking at what is available out there, he should fire his agent. He's well within his rights. He's got a player option, and I don't know why. I can't believe that it was turned into something by Paul Kent. Like it's just the business of rugby league.
Yeah, it's always been that way. I don't get why anyone thinks there's anything untoward going on here.
Yeah.
So Madison did it at West Tigers. It's
not
like
exactly.
The West Tigers fans have got fucking salty tears over it. They moved on pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, West Tigers fans, they tend to take it on the chin and be like, oh, well, dust it off. Worry about the next thing. They're good like that.
It's just another one that's happened to. We won't hold a grudge.
No, never, ever, ever, ever.
Never.
Ever.
Ever. Raiderman says, Mansour and Burton are supposed to be under contract with the Panthers this year, yet you let one break their contract while one sits there earning less money than he could and not playing first grade. Seems a bit like double standards to me. Well, you know, them's the breaks.
Yeah, and it's really simple. We have like 50 million wingers that we could use and could save a bit of money by letting Mansour go to another club and get another gig elsewhere. And there's not 50 million backup halves. We don't know if Cleary's going to be available after the head knock he copped on the weekend, and that's why we kept Burton, who's under contract. It's like, I can't believe people are pissing and moaning about players that they don't have.
Know. And look, here's the other thing too. I dare say the Panthers were paying more for Mansour than they are for Burton. Yeah,
way, way more.
So it makes sense to get rid of the bloke who's on more money that you don't need as much.
Yeah. And it's like, I just think it's pathetic, all of this whinging about Burton. Like, I've heard people get upset about injuries. I've heard them get upset about suspensions. I've never heard people pissing and moaning about a play they don't fucking have at their club.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's amazing.
Wooly Wooloff asks, how come the Broncos keep getting the main TV game every Friday night? I think this guy's new to rugby league.
Yeah. It's called ratings. It's called relevant ratings in the market. He'll work it out.
Yeah. Now, the Oracle, I think, works for Daily Telegraph.
Telegraph, yeah.
He tends to do a whole heap of lists based on stuff that happened since the 70s. He doesn't care about what happened to the game before then. No one was alive for that, so fuck that part of the game.
By the way, who does lists anymore? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our list. He says, this is the Oracle. This is getting beyond ridiculous. Luke Keary puts on a masterclass with 4 try assists. It's only against the West Tigers. But Sam Sido thinks a fullback whose team conceded 40 points is the third best player on the field. What the hell is going on? Hashtag DallyMGate.
So Sam Thido was covering this game, and he gave the points like it was 3 to, was it Brett Morris?
3 to Brett Morris, 2 to James Tedesco, and 1 to Dane Laurie from the Tigers.
Now, do you have any problem with that?
No.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it either. I thought Dane Laurie in the beaten side was absolutely outstanding.
He was. If you take him out of that side, the West Tigers conceded another 20 points.
Yeah. He was really the only West Tigers player that looked dangerous at all. Yeah. And if you looked at the game in total, he was one of the most dangerous players on the field.
And as I said, I think after the trial match, I know he's generally considered to be more of a 5'8" than anything else, but his understanding of where to be defensively is phenomenal. Like, I haven't seen a West Tigers fullback with that, who was actually a fullback at the Tigers at the time, who's had that unbelievable reading of defence since Brett Hodgson.
Yeah.
Just knows where to be. And very similar in attack too. Pops up in exactly the right place at the right time. A genuine threat. Like, he'll always run to the line before he passes if he's going to.
Mm-hmm.
A phenomenal player. Absolutely phenomenal player. I've got no problem with him getting 1 point.
No, neither do I. I think I've seen way worse selections already this year than that in the Dally M points.
Yeah. So I am John asks regarding this. We had Tedesco missing out on 3 points last week with Billy Moore, who's obviously concussed. And now this from Sam Thido. If Tedesco and Keary wore maroon and not blue, would they have missed out on points? Well, here's the problem though, John, is that both Billy Moore and Sam Thido were born in New South Wales. So I don't know how you can say there's any sort of bias there.
Yeah, exactly. They're proud New South Welshmen, like most Queensland rugby league players are. And it's weird that somebody, like, my brain doesn't even go there. Do you reckon it's weird that someone's even thinking along lines of origin sort of stuff with Dally M points?
Well, the problem with this argument, he's suggesting that it's some sort of bias against New South Welshmen.
Yeah.
He's not picked a single Queenslander for any of the points.
There you go. Oh, man.
How the fuck does that work? Oh, nonsense. Hey, Canty, what can the Tigers do to improve their defence this Sunday against the Knights?
Remember when, was it, I'm pretty sure it was the English Rugby League team, or was it the New Zealand team? No, it might have made New Zealand, where they marked the field so it was narrower than, because the rules stated that you could have a narrower field if the ground didn't allow for a full-size field. So it was kind of in the rules that you could mark out the narrow field. So they marked out a narrow field when they played Australia. Didn't help them at all. But I think that would help the West Tigers.
So you're suggesting the Tigers need to play in, say, a hallway?
That would help.
Yeah. Not a big hallway, just one of those ones you get in a standard house or a unit. Probably a studio apartment.
Yeah, or like a house, the housing condition houses.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever been in a housing condition house. I grew up in one.
I come from a very, very wealthy family.
Wealthy. You come from you lived, if people that don't know, Andrew lived on a country estate.
Oh, yeah. The house we had was just
always renovating it.
enormous. The maintenance costs were insane. All the windows you had to keep repairing all the time because they got a bit dirty.
The vast acreage.
The plantations we had going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst part was having to go into the room all the money was in and constantly having to clean it up and stack all the cash up again because the money kept coming out underneath the door and stuff. Oh,
So annoying.
massive pain in the ass that was.
Yeah.
Now, to go from this Tigers defence thing, there's an article on the Fox Sports website where Rugby League brains Braithen Astor and Corey Parker have pointed out the Tiger Achilles heel, and they've exposed it.
Oh, finally.
The article says, in a horror outing, the West Tigers' biggest weakness in their left sedge defence, the sedge, was brutally exposed by the unforgiving Roosters' right edge attack. Now, they're making out like this is the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
From the first try of the game to Tedesco, the Roosters highlighted some serious concerns for Michael Maguire with the defensive combination of Luke Brooks, blah, 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 Joey Lalua, Luciano. It's almost like they're not aware that the Tigers have conceded 26 points or more in, 12 straight games now?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the good part of the Tigers' defence is.
They're averaging... they've conceded over 500 points in their last 20 games, which is...
That's insane. Holy crap.
Yeah. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they've... After 20 games, they've gone, the Tigers' left sedge defence has the problem. They're going, you see it now? Now? Now's the first time you see it?
But it's funny because, at some point, you don't really have to break something down because it's so friggin' obvious, you know?
Yeah. So they're saying it's the Lailua brothers and Luke Brooks. And furthermore, the Tigers' record against the Roosters is just fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
The Roosters have won 19 of their last 21 games against the West Tigers. And nearly all of those have seen the Roosters score at least 30 points.
Do you reckon that when Robinson has the Tigers coming up, last week, he's preparing and he sits the Roosters down and he's got a whiteboard and he says, man, we're focusing on one word this week, and he swings it around and it just says sedge. We're going to attack their sedge.
We're going after their sedge.
The sedge,
not any sedge,
is all
just
we
their
want.
left sedge.
You hear them all yelling, sedge, sedge, during the game.
So how's this okay? I'll read you out some scorelines to you from, let's see. I'll have a look at this record here.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, Tigers have won two of their last 21 games against the Roosters. So this is starting from 2010 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
These are the big wins. There's not many that aren't included here. Roosters won 44-32. They won 42-28, 44-20, 56-14, 30-6, 48-4, 36-4, 33-8, 32-18, 40-18, 22-18. Those all happened in a row.
Yeah.
Those ones that from 42-28 down to 22-18, that was from round 15 2012 to round 24 2017. Then the Tigers won 10-8. And then
they played some defence and won.
Yeah, I think that might have been during the Origin period too. And then the last four games, the Roosters have won 42-12, 24-16, 38-16, and 40-6.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Brutal. What's the average score here?
That's
Roosters
a lot.
31.5.
Yeah.
To the Tigers 13.9. It's an 18-point margin on average.
Yeah. Wow, I'm trying to think. That would be one of the worst ones over the last 20 games I could think of. Like, it's not often you see that sort of domination. Obviously, the Knights, because they had a really bad run recently, they'd be up there. But, damn, that's a lot of points for one team to score against another.
Yeah, and so it's been going on for almost a decade now.
Yeah.
And then they're making it like it's some sort of rare, weird thing that's... What the hell happened?
Half the West Tigers history, hey?
Yeah, easy. So they're going on about effort areas and stuff like this. There's a lot of problems with the West Tigers, and it's been going on for close to a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Sure, Luke Brooks is a part of it. I've said all along that I think he's always been someone who's a ball running six more than an organising halfback.
Mm-hmm.
And the large reason why the Tigers struggled when Mitch Moses was there is because Mitch was being the 5'8", when he was clearly someone who called plays and should be in the 7 jumper.
Yeah.
Sure enough, when he went to Parramatta, they put him in the 7, and they've had a lot more success out of him because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. Brooks is a 6. He can't organise shit, but he can.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of great skills, as I've said in previous episodes. You look at what he actually has. He's got a lot of great skills, but the one skill he lacks and always has is the ability to organise and run plays.
Yeah, and like that's what the West Tigers have left themselves with because of their personnel decisions, like the decision to get rid of Benji Marshall, who was an organiser. And, I mean, even Josh Reynolds, to a certain extent, Josh Reynolds wasn't really an organiser, but he does more than Luke Brooks does in that department. They got rid of both of them and didn't really replace them.
That's right. Well, they went and bought centres instead.
Well, you know, at least that helped shore up their defence out wide.
Yeah, that's got great guns.
Yeah.
And regarding their defence, the problem the Tigers have had with their defence for a long time is no communication. And no, they do not work together.
No.
And what I say by that is, and I've mentioned it before in detail, is the way that the Panthers' defence works. Everyone supports one another. It's always twos. They're always sliding. They're never, ever flat-footed. And everything that the Tigers have been doing for the last near decade is one person doing something on their own. They're not working with another teammate.
Mm.
It's just a bunch of blokes who kind of have just been put together on the field and say, okay, you guys are a team now. There's never been cohesion there. And that comes from the constant churn of players.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, they just don't get a chance to have any sort of cohesion because they've played like even, you know, one season together for the most part. You know, and you see the way that they come, like they will come up to a certain point in defence and then they start sliding backwards. And against any NRL team, they're going to carve you up when you do that. And they just constantly do that. It's terrible.
Yeah, and it's because they don't know what the man, either on the inside or on the outside of him, is going to do. They don't know if he's going to go up and try and stop the ball carrier. They don't know whether he's going to keep sliding. They don't know if he's going to go straight. And so all they do the whole time in their defensive line is guess what the person beside them is going to do. And while they're doing that, they're holding back, and the other team just runs however they please, and they score points however they please. That's just the way they are. And I think part of the problem is the culture at the club.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an attitude that a lot of players have got towards the club, and that is, this team's never going to make the finals, so I'll sign a contract with them because I don't have to try as hard and I'll still get big money. And I'm not saying that all players do that, but I'm saying I reckon there'd be a fair amount of players who go there and they play with less intensity when they turn up at the club.
Yeah, but it also has to do with the way they recruit the players. Like they recruit so many players after, like they get the offcasts from other clubs. So you get the player to a club that knows that his previous club didn't want him, and so they felt a way about his football. And the West Tigers are only getting him because he was available, and it's just not a good way to recruit players. Like, I mean, they got Tarmo in a more normal fashion by signing him while he was available to be signed. But most of their other recruits, like they got in off seasons, and you know they did player swaps. I mean, even Dane Laurie, who's a great player, they got him in a player swap. It's just not the way to put together a club.
No, and that's all they do, and it's just constantly chasing your tail. There's no long-term plan there. And this is the thing, is what's worked with the Panthers is the fact that, you know, a large core of their squad are a bunch of blokes who are from the Panthers juniors development area, and they all play together as juniors. Tigers have got a massive junior area as well. Fuck, all of them come through to the NRL side. They go to other clubs.
Yeah, and that's terrible. And you got to wonder, we've seen enough coaches go through the West Tigers, and the player churn is about what you'd expect at most clubs. At what point does the board take responsibility, and at what point do you look at the CEO and say, like, none of this is working? Well, when does the CEO have to take responsibility for that?
Yeah, like how many coaches and players do you need to churn through before you realise that the same thing keeps happening? Doesn't matter who you've got at the club running the team or who's on the field.
Yep, exactly.
And that's the problem they've got, and it's been going on here. If they don't make the finals this year, and it's looking pretty likely, it'll be a decade since they last made the finals.
That's terrible.
That's how shit they are.
Yeah.
There we go. So how can they improve on their defence this weekend against the Knights? Simple. Stop thinking about scoring points. They've got to go out there and go, you know what, all we're going to do is work together and work in pairs defensively. So we see a bloke with the ball, we'll go up, slide up and towards that person. We won't go backwards, up and towards them as pairs. So if he gets out of one tackle, there's another defender right there to try and stop him. And we support one another the whole way through, all game. It's all they've got to do. Is you just don't see it. That's the other thing. They don't stop the second phase play. They don't wrap up the ball. They don't get the attacker on the ground fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
They let them keep pushing forward and standing in the tackle. And so it means they get not only do they get extra cheap meters out of it, they also get a quick play the ball out of it. And so the defence is automatically running backwards.
Tell you what, they're going to have a real hard time against the Newcastle Knights because they've got a very good forward pack.
Yep.
Their backs are really hard to handle when they get on a roll. I don't know if Ponga's back this week. Do you know if he's back this week?
Not sure. He should be back soon, though.
Yeah, he's got to be close. It's either got to be this week or next week, I think. So we'll find out, I guess, when they put the team lists out. But, it if he's back in the side, it's going to be a real long night for them.
Oh, yeah. Now we've got that out of the system. Thomas says, tell Buzz to unblock me. You don't want that, Thomas.
Yeah, why would somebody want to be unblocked by Buzz?
Yeah, you don't need that. You don't need that in your life. Someone says, hey, Kenty, what do you think of Fox stealing posts and pictures from the @NRL News Twitter account and the @League Unlimited account? I don't think you give a shit.
Yeah, they don't care. I saw that Fox Sports had stolen a picture that someone had taken of Cameron Smith's statue. They'd put a piece of Devon on the back of his head and took a picture for another. I think it was Full Credit to the Boys podcast.
That's exactly right. Full Credit to the Boys podcast. They call him Devon Head because they said his bald spot looks like someone put a slice of Devon on his head.
And yeah, Fox Sports just stole it and put their logo on it, which is fantastic. You got to love when they do that. And just didn't credit anyone. They just distributed it. No one at Fox Sports cared. Nope. And I thought that was pretty gross.
Yeah, they're big on that.
Yeah.
Shout out to George. Chen's Golden says, Kenty, with more and more teams happy to give away a 6 again call on the first tackle, thoughts on a first tackle infringement actually being a penalty to stop teams from being able to slow momentum and set the defensive line?
Ooh, I like this idea. What if we made it so that if there was an infringement, instead of calling 6 again, they called it a penalty?
Yeah, at any time in the tackle count.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That's a great idea.
I'm going to put that in the notes for another rule change this weekend.
Yeah. I think if you put it down as a new rule change and you put it to Vlandis as well as telling him how great he is, I think that'll get the green light.
But you've got the key to doing it, to making any rule change in the NRL, is you've got to start with the phrase "back in my day."
Yep, that helps.
Yeah,
and say, I saw in the paper you came up with this great idea, PVL. That's how you start every conversation with him. He goes, oh, yeah, I had that idea. Oh, let's do it. Make him feel like he owns it. It was his idea.
That's a good way to do stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You walk into a room and you say, I've been thinking about what you said the other day, and yeah, I should get that new pair of Nikes, shouldn't I? We should all try that. Let's get our listeners, right? Let's do a social experiment, right?
Yeah.
Go to your significant other and just go in and say, been thinking about what you were talking about the other day, and yeah, I should buy myself that thing. And let us know if it works.
Yeah. It's what is it, positive reinforcement.
I guess so, yeah. Either that or manipulation of a loved one of the two.
Yeah, well, yeah. A little from column A, a little from column B. Just a new way to do negotiating.
Yeah. Is it called that? Might also, I don't know if I'm right. Maybe that's what gaslighting is. I don't know.
I've no idea.
I always thought gaslighting was something that happened when you had a problem with your hot water heater.
Yeah, that's probably true. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
These are just new terms nowadays that I don't understand at all.
Yeah, same here.
Daniel Watson-Hayes asks, the NFL recently secured $113 billion over 11 years for its broadcasting rights, spreading its product across 5 broadcasters. Is this the way forward for the NRL? Multiple free-to-air channels, OTT services, and Fox League, which would generate additional revenue for expansion.
I think it is, but because we're selling it to such a smaller population, I think that you would see not so much diversification of the way that the broadcast rights are split up. So I think it'll be fewer outlets, but I do think it's the way of the future for sure, especially for overseas. Like, what is to stop, say, Amazon, who got involved in the NFL rights this time around? What is to stop them from deciding that they would like to have some NRL, that they could sell to overseas broadcasters or on their overseas, subscription channels or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see how the next broadcast deal works.
Yeah, I would like to see a different free-to-air channel with the NRL.
Yeah, so
I think Channel 10, I've said it before, I think they would be absolutely brilliant because they'd be a lot more positive and a lot more proactive about promoting the game, as opposed to the way Channel 9 denigrates it and the thinking that if we shit on something often enough, people will watch it. I don't know how they think that works.
No.
But that's the thing, is that the AFL have got, I saw some stats recently for their first round of games, I think it was, for this season, and all of their viewerships are up, which means a lot of their advertising revenue they get during those games is also going to increase.
Yeah.
The Channel 9 mindset is, if we try and make sure that less people watch this, then there'll be less revenue coming into us for it, which means we can then tell the NRL we don't want to pay as much for it. It's kind of like shooting yourself in the face to spite your nose.
Like, the thing that worries me is that we went to an independent commission so that we got the broadcasters out of the decision-making process. And I feel like in the last probably 12 to 18 months, the broadcasters have hooked their claws into the administrators, and they've really pushed them around in terms of what we're doing with the broadcasting. And that comes down to Peter V'landys gave them, a $30 million discount to Channel 9, which they promptly turned around and gave to Rugby Union. So that worries me. But I think that, with cord cutters and stuff like that are coming along now, and, Foxtel's needing to change the way they do stuff, and Fox Sports having to change how they do things. And that also comes down to how we expand the competition. If we keep making sure that Channel 9 gets what they want in Sydney and Brisbane, but we don't look to expand any further beyond that, we're not going to attract any other, channels to bid for the game, because it's all set up for Channel 9 and what they want.
Yeah, and look, I've not said it before, but I think if we keep expanding, so to speak, into areas where the game is already popular, we're just making the same mistakes that the English Super League does.
Yes.
And look where that's getting them.
Exactly, yeah, they're stuffed.
Conigman asks, have the new rules exacerbated the difference between the top teams and the bottom teams? Yes.
Yeah.
Surely the more... Sorry, you go.
Like I was just going to say that was always going to happen, and it's going to make the margins way bigger.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that pretty quickly last year when these new rules came in, that the top teams learned how to maximise the new rules and get the most out of them, and the bottom teams just had to try and keep up.
Yep.
And that's a bad situation to be in, and it is just getting worse this year.
Yep.
He says, surely the more time the ball is in play, it increases the chances of the already stronger teams winning. That is true, and when you consider that we don't have penalties and scrums as frequently now to allow both sides to rest, it means that the team on the back foot stays on the back foot longer. We saw with the Sharks versus Raiders game on Sunday that the Raiders kept the momentum, they kept field position, possession, and the Sharks could not get into that first half at all. The thing that saved them was the halftime break, because you go and go, right, everything's reset. We now get a chance to have a breather and start again. And sure enough, they got themselves back into the game. And for the teams that aren't as good as the Sharks are, and there's several of them, that halftime break it's too late. Like, the game is gone by then.
Yeah, the other thing is too, like, if you take out all of the scrums and you streamline everything so that it's just a running game, you end up with only one way to play. And so if, say you're a team that you have problems with your defense, you have problems like if oppositions get on a roll, you can't just kick for touch and slow the game down and stop everything and use that as a tactic. And it's a real tactic. There's nothing wrong with that. And we talked a couple of episodes about the way that, what makes a sport, what keeps something as a full sport as opposed to like a training session sort of game. And if you take away all of the little rules and wrinkles and stuff that makes rugby league, you don't give an opposition team a chance to change the momentum of a game with a good kick that finds touch, or, just slowing the game down. Like, how many great players of the past did we talk about? They played the game at their pace. They didn't play at the opposition's pace. And, if you take that option out the game, you're going to be left with big blowout scorelines every weekend, and no one wants that.
Yeah, you're just going to have a bunch of centres and second rows playing the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fifth and last, another podcast asks, why has the NRL not adopted the 18th man concussion substitution rule implemented throughout the QRL and the New South Wales Rugby League state comps? I don't know how this works, but I saw Kenty completely shit on the idea, saying clubs will just abuse it. And he said, they'll just use it like it's a fifth interchange, because they'll just say, he's coming off for a HIA and then you can use that one and it's a free interchange. And I went, if you look at it in a simplistic manner, Kent probably has a point. I think what needs to happen is, so long as there's a doctor on site and he says, you know what, this person generally has concussion, they're not coming back, then that's when the 18th substitution is allowed to go ahead free of charge. You're not going to be able to use it if someone's coming off for a test. It can only be used once they've been allowed not to come back on the field.
Yeah, see, I get that, and
I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying I'm advocating for or against. I'm just saying if you want to have it, that's the only way to make it work.
The way I look at it is, my head says I understand having that extra player available if there's somebody that doesn't come back from concussion. I get that completely, and it's probably the way to go. My heart says I would just rather you name your 17. If you lose a player through concussion or whatever, you've just lost a player. I mean, why is one extra player the arbitrary number? Why don't we have 2? Why don't we have 3? Why don't we have 4? Why do we just keep it for their head knocks? Why not, like, if someone breaks an ankle or a wrist or something?
Exactly.
You could go on.
We're going to have a 19th man who deals with hamstrings, so that Sharks can have an extra bench player the whole time.
Can we just have
Matt Moylan runs onto the field? He's off. There's a free bench.
You bastard. You fucking beat me to the Matt Moylan joke. Son of a bitch. Just the Matt Coronella gets an extra player, and it's just the Matt Moylan interchange.
That's all it is. Well, They could
That's
have
the
two.
way.
They could have one for Josh Dugan's knees.
Josh Dugan. He just runs on the field for 30 seconds whenever every single time it looks like Josh Dugan has done his season-ending injury, but then they swap back when it turns out he's fine.
Yeah. So you could just move from one different substitute from the other. Oh, no, it was his hamstring. Oh, hang on, it might be a HIA. Oh, he's okay. Bring him back on.
Yeah.
You just dip his toes in every pool there.
That's a great idea. But yeah, I tend to think like, name your 17. If you lose players, I'm sorry. That's unfortunate, but that's just, you got to play on, you know. We once upon a time were just naming 13 players on each side, and if you lost a player back then, you were playing with 12 on the field. So yeah, I personally don't want extra players added for any reason.
No, I agree. T-Mac asks, with all the private messages to players regarding failed multis, should the NRL and NRL shows be showing gambling ads and taking sponsorship money from them? Promotion is encouraging gambling, is it not? It's a fair point.
Yeah, that is a fair point.
Eloquently made with a slight pinch of humour. There was a story which came out today from Josh Morris's Instagram account where someone was threatening to bash the crap out of him because I assume he didn't score a try, and that stopped this person from getting a big payout on their multi. And he wanted to go and bash Josh Morris.
Just a word of advice to people: don't threaten human beings whose professional career that they earn hundreds of thousands of dollars from is taking super athletes and throwing them to the ground over and over again, because you're probably not going to end up in a good position.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
No, it's like the number one rule in life: never, ever, ever fight the bouncers.
Yeah, that's right. That's true, and that's what most of them were. They were former rugby league players.
Yeah,
they just tackled too hard.
Exactly. Oh, don't start me on that.
Deep Longstop asks, for this week's fabricated argument, can you have Buzz and Gordy debate Palmy versus Palmer?
It's funny when you watch those shows and like, you know that they've said, can you just fire up a little bit? Can you just act like you really care about this subject?
I'm curious as to why Buzz has decided to start turning on his fellow co-workers at Fox Sports. Yeah, you had to go. Was it Cooper Cronk the other week about him doing something that he was able to do that both clubs were fine with?
It keeps him awake, I guess.
It must do. I'd like to see Buzz have an argument with James Hooper, just to see if any English is said.
Do you reckon that there'll be some sort of black hole that would open up and just suck them both into it?
Oh, geez, I hope so.
Maybe we should experiment with that.
It'd be a visible intellectual vacuum.
Yeah, that's what would cause it. We should try one day to do like a manufactured argument, because we agree on a hell of a lot about rugby league, where like it's completely random. Like we randomly generate which side we take, but then we do that. You know how they pretend that they're really arguing about it?
Okay. I think the way to do that is you would have to argue that the West Tigers are going to get better.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
How would that even be possible?
Well, yeah, that's the only way this is going to work, because I can't fucking argue that. I can play devil's advocate on nearly anything. I can't do it on that.
What if we take something we both really believe in, but then swap them around? So I start arguing we should get rid of daylight saving.
That's a good one.
Sorry, I had to.
People still think I was serious about that. It was great. JJ says, where to now for Joey Leilua? His defensive reads are a major concern for us Tigers fans. Where to now for him? Well, after his contract ends, it'll probably go to Super League. That's the general run. If you finish with an NRL club and you go to the West Tigers, the only possible place you can go after that is Super League.
He'd be good in Super League too.
Oh, man, he'd destroy them.
Yeah, big dude. You could play him in the forwards even.
They would play him in the forwards.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some Cowboys winger that went over there. I forgot his name now. Centre. I think he was actually a centre. They started playing him in the second row, and then a prop over there in his first year playing there.
Oh, really? Oh, what was his name? Oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
That guy.
Too early in the year for that.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah.
Will the Warriors ever get a fair go from the refs in this competition, and when will there be actual consequences for referees who make blatantly incorrect decisions?
The answer is no. The Warriors are going to forever be under the pump from the referees. It's weird how all of the bad teams in the NRL are upset that they don't get calls from referees. It's like, how about you just sort your game plan out first before you start worrying about what the refs are doing?
Yeah, I had a Bulldogs fan have asked me a question during the week. How long has the team gone without getting a penalty? I thought, he's supporting the Bulldogs. Penalties aren't the reason why you're losing games, or a lack of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Warriors have had a bit of a rough trot with referees' decisions for a while, but if you're relying on referees' decisions to go your way to get victories, then you're not doing enough on the field.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to fight all the elements. You've got to fight against the referee. You've got to fight the opposition team.
And
everything.
As far as actual consequences for referees who make bad decisions, they get hauled over the coals by Graham Annesley every Monday morning, don't they?
You would think so. I think he sits down, he pulls his like cuff up so you can see his watch, obviously.
You've got to.
He says, listen, I'm going to go and do a PowerPoint presentation in about 45 minutes, and I'm just going to focus on you, Ashley Klein. You're fucked, son. And then he says, get out.
I won't cop this anymore. You can have the Dragons versus Cowboys game on the weekend. That's your punishment.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. That big ref says, why does the NRL persist with 6 p.m. Friday games? Wouldn't more TV viewers and fans at the ground be available if the fixture was moved to Sunday? Then you could have a 2, 4 and 6:30 p.m. game on Sunday.
That sounds really reasonable.
I've never been a fan of 6 o'clock games on weekdays. Well, actually, even 8 o'clock games on weekdays. I don't know why we have Thursday night games.
Yeah, I think the 8 o'clock games are even more crazy because that game's finishing at 10 o'clock and, like, you've got work the next day. Yeah. And that's like 10 o'clock the game finishes. That's not getting out to the car park. You're always sitting in the car park for like half hour. I don't understand it. The only thing I can think is that maybe for Fox Sports they would say that having it works better for them to have the viewers being across all of the so many days of the week as opposed to having them condensed to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's all I can think of.
And look, this is the way that sport is going to go. Not just all sports, but rugby league in particular, because the game is basically played almost entirely in the 10-metre gap between the defensive line and the attacking line. Mm-hmm. It is purposely built for TV.
Yeah.
And so that's why you don't see rugby league being taken to massive stadiums and being played in front of 100,000 seat stadiums all the time. They play in 20,000 seat stadiums because it makes no difference if there's a crowd there or not. They're making most of the money from people watching it on TV.
Yeah,
and advertising money. It's a TV sport, pure. Yeah. And so bums on seats is something they want. Well, bums on seats at stadiums is not something they want. They want bums on seats at home watching it.
Watching it on TV, yeah. And that's what the Super League war was fought over. And, I think that in the very near future, we're going to have 7-day-a-week rugby league. I've said that before. I don't think we'll have round by round. I think it'll be almost like the Premier League schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. There was something that was almost dabbled with back at around when the NRL actually formed in 98.
Yeah.
They started dabbling with little things then. They'd play a few games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and stuff like that. And they were constantly toying with the idea of playing one game every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just went, yeah, we don't want this.
Yeah, I think that people would be more open to it now, but I think you would need a bigger, more teams in the competition to pull it off.
You still want to, you'd have to have one game on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably even one game on Friday. So there's 5 games. That's 10 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then just have a ton of games on Saturday and Sunday so that the fans can still go and watch their teams play as well.
Yeah, no, like it would give them the opportunity to play with the draw so that, you still had your gaps between, like not having teams play within 5-day turnarounds, which they don't like, even though the stats you've shown it doesn't really make any effect to them. But yeah, that's where I think we're going. I don't think it'll be in the next TV deal, maybe the TV deal after that.
Yes. Paul Smith asks, will I win Powerball this week? No.
Nah, sorry, Paul.
Yeah, you wasted your money.
Yeah, you stuffed up.
You done bad, son. Ben says, are the Dragons the real deal? No. And do you think Paul Green will go with Norman, Hunt and McCulloch for his Queensland spine? Norman, Hunt and McCulloch. Why?
Why, yeah. I would go Grant. Who else?
Ponga.
Yeah, I guess Ponga.
We're also forgetting that there's Cameron Munster exists and Daly Cherry Evans.
I mean, Ben Hunt, I'm not saying he's your first pick, but he's in the race.
Yeah, he's playing good. There's no doubt about it. McCulloch is just not, and Norman never has been.
No.
Norman is as close a chance to playing Origin again as Moses and Bai. That's where they're at, those two. Them and Milford.
I think DCE is... I think you could pick him in the Australian team and he'd do the job. Not a problem at all. Like, I don't think Manly's problems are DCE at all.
No, they certainly aren't. It's a bunch of forwards plodding around going nowhere.
Yeah, and backs that are not first graders.
Yes. Sounds like the West Tigers. Jerry Nichols says, 2 rounds in and the number of blatant forward passes being missed is ridiculous. What are these touch judges and refs doing? Well, half of them got laid off. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. I think we saw more forward pass calls in the first 2 rounds than we have for a long time, and I think it's because the game is so fast. Teams are trying to get on the advantage line as much as possible, and the players, I mean, we've seen how many halfbacks standing in front of the dummy half, just too eager to get on the advantage line. So I think that they're calling them, but because there's so many more forward passes, there's just a few extra ones that are being missed. But I think that for the most part, they're calling a lot of them pretty well.
Yeah. I wouldn't be blaming refs for not calling forward passes because half the time they're standing on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like accusing the square leg umpire for not giving more LBWs out.
Exactly.
The Big Aussie says, your thoughts on dividing the game into 25-minute quarters with 5-minute breaks? Fucking stupid.
Yeah, terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea. Every time we've seen them try and dabble with the quarters, cutting the game into quarters, and it's really quickly straight away why we don't do it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Here's an interesting one. Uncle Reckless says, with the fair few things the refs are missing, do you think we will see 2 refs back by the finals? Hate for a wrong decision to cost someone a finals berth.
I love rugby league. It's just so good. Hey, Peter, I was thinking about what you were saying the other day, and we should have 2 referees.
It'd be great. I think one referee's going good. The game would be twice as good if we had 2 referees.
It's the way of the future.
You're a genius, PVL. Should there be a rule to stop clubs like the Dogs agitating for future signings to be released from their contract early?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I think if you sign a contract with a player that's for 2 years' time, you've made that decision, so you've got to stick by it.
Yeah, or negotiate a release. And if you can't negotiate a release, I'm sorry, the thing I would say is that, and look, sometimes sponsors need to get their exposure however they can. But I got to say, if I was running the NRL and a sponsor started talking about another team should release a player, I would find the club of that sponsor and say that's tampering.
Yeah, we can't be having this tampering stuff and trying to force clubs into releasing players. The Tigers did it with Dane Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, though, they were able to come up with they actually had a player that Penrith wanted in Momirovski.
Yeah.
Who was first-grade quality. Bulldogs don't have someone like that they can trade with.
No.
That's why they're agitating for this, and they've been a lot more aggressive about it, because they need Burton, but they've got nothing to offer Penrith for him, other than, I dare say, cash. And maybe that's something that could happen, is they just say, you know what, we'll let you have him early, but you need to give us cash that can... because you don't have any players that we want.
Yeah. Look, I just think it's I think it's pathetic. I really do.
It is. Are the Broncos being unfairly targeted? No. There's so many 6 against they cop and then don't get when the same thing happens to them. I feel the commentary on them is biased and really lay the boot in as well. Aww.
It's because they're terrible. What are you supposed to say about a team that's fucking terrible?
One thing I've noticed with Brisbane is a large reason why they cop a lot of 6 against is because they are trying to constantly slow the play down.
Yeah.
And so they are lying all over the ruck. It worked really well when there was no 6 against, because you just give away one penalty, and that gave you the slowing down effect you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But now you don't get the penalty. It's just another 6 again, another 6 again. It just keeps going and going and going. So it's not so much... it's not so much that they cop a lot of them. It's the fact that they're still doing something that they shouldn't be doing anymore because it doesn't work with the new system. They're idiots. Simply what it is.
Yeah. And you know what I find really weird is the way that, like, we've literally only had 2 rounds, and so many people are talking like these teams are set in stone and what they've done is who they are and who they'll be for the rest of the year. Like, man, I don't think you can really judge a team until you're a good 2 months into the competition.
That's right, yeah. I'm starting to notice with a few of these questions coming in that everyone from every single different club thinks that there's some sort of bias against their team.
Yeah, all the terrible clubs at the very least. I was told during the week that the Panthers are one of the darling clubs of the NRL, and that the NRL is pushing for us to be a top club every year. And I was like, man, that's cool. We've had one good year this decade.
Darlings, you've been protected.
I know, right?
I've got shares in Penrith doing well.
Them and
don't fuck my multi.
Yeah, they fucked up my multi. I'm gonna go up to Kickow and say, man, I had you for 3 tries, not 2. You're fucked, mate.
Well, yeah, that might work because he'll look up at you and go, oh, nah. Do you think Kafusi was treated lightly because he plays for Melbourne?
Oh, jeez.
Why
has everyone got a victim complex?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
I think the problem with the Kafusi one is, that, in my opinion, he cocked his elbow intentionally as he was about to land on that player. I can't remember. I think it was Madison, wasn't it? I think what he did was, I think there was a sign of intent there, but that's just my opinion. And unfortunately, it's not something that they can actually go in and say for certain that they think there was malicious intent or not, or whether the impact he gave was, what caused the concussion, because he did hit his head pretty hard on the ground as well. Whether that was from the elbow or just from the force of the tackle, who knows? And because there's so much uncertainty around it all, you can't just go and give a bloke, 8 weeks for we don't know.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's going to get off.
I just think it's funny that it's like you have teams who are really bad, like obviously bad, And there are people out there that are like, they just don't like us.
Agreed. I don't get it. Should Todd Payton start preparing now for life without Jake Clifford as a spine player?
Where's he going?
Yeah. I think he should probably try and start looking at alternate options if there's any within the club.
Oh yeah,
Not,
like I would have
not just
Sorry.
Clifford either.
Yeah, I was going to say I would have no doubt if you said like to Todd Payton, and he was brutally honest. If you said, "Listen, what are your plans for Drinkwater, Morgan, and Clifford long term?" I'm sure he'd say, "Well, I hope they're somewhere else."
Yeah, well, he's already started to make moves on Granville because he's got Reece Robson starting at hooker more often now.
Yeah.
So he's already got the wheels in motion there.
Yeah, the problem is he's for the most part he inherited this team. Like he hasn't had a chance to recruit for them.
Yeah, and I think they've got a fair few players with a few years left on them as well too.
Yeah.
St. Daniel says, do you think Ben Hunt will back up his great form? I think he's capable of it. Whether he does or not will depend on who he's playing against.
Got to see, and like a lot of it is up to his forwards too to go forward. I love how well he runs the ball. He's one of the best ball running halfbacks I think I've ever seen. You know, he's in that top echelon of them.
Very tough competitor too.
Yep.
Just keeps going.
I think a lot of the criticism of him is really unwarranted.
Oh, of course it is. And a lot of it comes down to the fact he dropped the ball in the grand final.
Yeah.
I can't believe that is still going on about it. Fox Sports made a fucking thing about it during the week. I was like,
did they?
What the hell are they talking about? And I went, oh, that, right. Jeez, I thought we moved on from there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Boy asks, is Hodgson more of a liability than an asset to the Raiders? I'll hand this over to you.
Yes, he is. He makes terrible decisions. His service is not very good. Starling is a far better player. And I think that if the Raiders if they put Starling in at halfback, and can you imagine the Raiders as they are right now, you put Starling in at hooker, and your halfback was Adam Reynolds, the Raiders are maybe the team to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't even think 7's their issue. I think if you had better service coming from 9, you can have George Williams in that side comfortably. And that's the problem at the moment is Hodgson's service from 9 is starting to get slower. I'll say that. Because the one thing he's doing now is something that Robbie Farah started doing at the tail end of his career, and that is gets the ball from dummy half. And first instinct is to take 2 steps forward before passing the ball out the back. And if you're fast, that's not a bad idea. And Farrell, in the final years of his playing career, was faster than what Hodgson is. But that's not to say that he was quick enough to be able to do that and get away with it, because all it does is it gives the defence an opportunity to come up straight away. And so you're playing with less meters. And so, when your forwards do get the ball, they're only going to make 6 meters, and then they've got to start trying to make post-contact meters instead of running for 7 or 8 meters. And it's all 1 or 2 meters that makes a difference. It's an extra 10 meters at the end of your set.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of hard work as the entire game draws on. Your players are just pushing harder and harder for less and less meters for every tackle throughout the game. Puts everyone on the back foot. Also gives your halves less room to move. So it's probably the one area where I think Hodgson is struggling with the most. He just needs to be quicker with the ball you're distributing the ball from dummy half. Just get it off the deck out to your halves as quickly as possible, unless you see an opportunity for yourself.
I from the first day he turned up the Raiders, I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. I just haven't rated him. I think it's just I really do. I think that he's a liability. I agree with the person that asked the question, and I've always thought that.
Yeah, I think the first 2 seasons he had there, I think he was pretty good. I think though the last 18 months especially, he's not been the asset he once was, and he's moving further away from that.
And George Williams is never going to win a grand final.
Well, there you go. I'm not contending with that one. I'll take your word on that one.
You know what? People say I'm biased. It's not that I'm biased. It's that he's a fucking pom.
Yeah, he's got a hog on him though, man.
Well, yeah, he does.
That's his problem. He's hauling that around.
Yeah, it's a liability.
It is. I don't know how he hasn't put his spine out yet.
He's got to keep pumping blood into that friggin' thing as he carries it around.
I don't know how his spine can handle that.
Can you imagine if people started listening to this podcast just in the last couple of weeks and they're like, how the fuck have they started talking about like George Williams' hog just so quickly, just straight into it? What's going on?
We can't help it. It's impressive. That's all we can say. Jack asks, what does Hooper have against Melbourne? P.S. You don't throw elbows in jiu-jitsu. First of all, Jack, well done on understanding what James Hooper was saying.
Yes.
All I hear is loud noises, blah, 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 blah. That's pretty much him.
Yeah. I think James Hooper doesn't like anything.
No, that's pretty much sums up. He doesn't like, he especially doesn't like carbonnates.
No. He just gets on his fucking little blog on Fox Sports website and he blogs some bullshit, and every so often they put him on TV. He has to reshave his head for it, and he just sits there just trying to pretend he's angry because he's just laughing. We all know that.
Well, he thinks he's laughing. I think he probably is angry.
You reckon he's properly angry?
Yeah. Because he's going, why won't my brain work? He keeps scratching it. Nothing happens.
Remember when people used to think I was angry?
Yeah, well, you know. That's what the podcast has done. People have gone, hang on, he's the mellow one.
Yeah.
I'm the one ranting all the time.
Yeah, my tweets come across like I'm fucking angry. I don't know why.
Yeah. Wayne Stevens asks, will Anthony Milford end up in England playing Super League?
Yes, definitely at this rate.
Mm-hmm. Sooner rather than later, I'd imagine.
Although I wonder if the Cowboys would throw him some cash.
I don't think you would.
What if the Cowboys decided to splash the cash on Adam Reynolds, who is available, and they were like, what about him and Reynolds as our halves? It's not a bad halves combo.
It's not bad. I wouldn't mind seeing Reynolds at the West Tigers. Might be the only thing that would help Brooks out.
Man, remember when they were like, they could have had Latrell Mitchell and they didn't want to pay all the money for him?
Yeah. Mind you, at the same time, as much as he would have been an asset, the club didn't need him at the time either. They still don't need Latrell Mitchell. What they need is like proper forward rotation, a halfback. Those are big things they need. They've got to stop signing outside backs.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that this is Dez's last NRL stint as coach?
Yes, definitely. He's not getting a job elsewhere.
No. Mind you, we don't know how long he'll be coaching at Manly for. Because you just know one good season, it'll be McGregor all over again. He'll sign a contract extension and lock that shit down.
Yeah, it feels that way, hey?
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think the game clock should be stopped after every point is scored? That way they actually play the whole 80 minutes.
No. It's fine as it is.
Yep. Why do we have to keep changing things?
I know, right?
Christo asks, I strongly believe that Tuivasa-Sheck is one of, if not the most overrated player in the NRL. Do you agree?
I don't, but,
No.
you know.
How can you?
Yeah, he's the best Warriors player by far. Yeah, I just can't agree with that.
Kenty goes from one extreme end to the other. Starts off the show blowing up about nothing done for concussion by foul play and ends it with, why are we stopping the game for players that refs believe have had a head knock? Which is it, Kenty? It's both!
Yeah, it's definitely both. It's 100% both. You never look for any sense out of a journalist.
No. That's the thing I think we touched on it before. Kenty was arguing that we can't have an 18th player to deal with concussions, and yet he was apparently starting the show complaining about not being enough done to help players with concussions. So it's good work. Maybe
we're
everyone
the
should
only
just wear
consistent
helmets.
Ones in the rugby league media landscape, you know that.
Yeah, because we're foolish enough to have one opinion and stick with it.
Yeah, we're
on one
human
topic.
beings.
Yeah,
We're
that's
not
right.
Sociopaths.
That's right. Maurice asks, sweet Jesus, is it that bloody difficult to say the name St. George Illawarra? Our local fans find this behaviour really offensive. Just saying St. George or Saints makes us locals wonder, does the media dislike the Illawarra region?
They don't like us. Oh, God.
From now on in, I'll do my bit to help out. I'm not going to call them St. George, Saints, or anything. I'm going to call them Illawarra and Steelers.
Steelers, just Steelers.
Yeah.
You know what?
Level
I found
the playing
myself
field as much as I can.
I'm very big on saying St. George Illawarra Dragons, but just this last weekend, I kept on calling them just St. George. I don't know why.
I've never called them St. George. I've always called them St. George Illawarra.
Yeah. I'm up for calling them Steelers from now on.
Yeah, we'll call them the Illawarra Steelers now. We'll level the field.
Yeah, we fixed it.
There you go. We're fixing things. Who are more important to a premiership, a quality half or finisher? If a half, why do try scorers get the accolades? Tries more important than assists. Well, tries give you points.
Oh, man. I love a good finisher, I've got to say. But obviously, halfback is way more important.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're saying is, right, this is what this person's saying, okay? If the halfback is so important in the team, when a try is scored, why doesn't the halfback's name get put next to the try instead of the person to put it down? That's what they're saying.
Pretty much.
I'm not drunk enough to make sense of it.
Nah, it's crazy. I was just going to move on from it.
Yeah.
How many send-offs would it take for coaches to get the message regarding foul play? Well, we've been through this little attempt a few years back, and what we learnt was the coaches bitched and moaned. The media goes, oh, they're not happy. Let's side with them. And so the media then bitched and moaned, and then the NRL yielded and gave the media and the coaches what they wanted, which was, we'll stop putting players in the bin, we'll stop trying to clean the game up using penalties, and we'll stop trying to send people off all the time. And now we're back to where we are.
You know, if we had an administration that wasn't so terrified of, you know, coaches that were critical of them, that any time that a coach blew up about it, they'd just come out and say, shut up.
Yeah. Or get fucked.
Yeah, get fucked. Can you imagine Graham Ashley goes up with his PowerPoint presentation and his little pointer, and he just says, Des Hasler...
You'd have the words written on the screen, and just the pointer would just point to it.
Or he just comes out on his whiteboard and he doesn't even say a word, and he writes Trent Barrett, and then underneath it, get fucked.
Actually, it'd be one of those ones that flips.
Yeah.
You just have get fucked written on one side and just come out with it with the clean side showing. And every time someone asks a question, flip the board over.
And then he just stands there doing that stance that The Rock does, where he looks like he's playing with his cufflink, but he's playing with his watch instead. And he just stands there in that stance, just staring into the camera.
That's it. And then waits for the next question, flip it back, and then flip it back over.
Yeah.
Just do that the whole way through. I think that would be a much better use for Graham Annesley.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see him do that.
I think that's going to be a brilliant idea. Great idea, PVL.
Yeah, good. I'm glad PVL come up with that idea.
He's a genius. What else we got on here? Someone said, can we get some more consistency? I don't know if he's referring to the if he's referring to Paul Kent's opinions or...
I'm pretty sure consistency is a Chinese meal, isn't it? You get combination chow mein, fried rice, deep fried duck with sweet and sour sauce, and consistency.
I think you might be right.
Mm.
Sounds familiar. Amby asks, why is Kenty's hair standing on end this season of NRL 360? Different hair product used this year or an electric shock of some sort?
I haven't noticed it. I haven't watched it, so I haven't seen his hair. Does his hair look different?
I've barely paid any attention to it. He comes on the screen, I look away. Like, oh, here comes that short, angry man.
See, I've got a nice lush head of hair, so I don't have to fuck with it. In fact, normally I shave it off. But
Likewise.
I guess there's a point where if you start worrying about your hair, you just sort of poof it up, you know?
That's right. You make them all stand up to attention. So, right,
Yeah.
I still have hair left. See, it's still there. It's excited.
You get the brush that's like shaped like a circle, and you get the blow dryer, and you just make it all fluffy.
There you go. I don't use brushes.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't. Seriously, the last time I brushed or combed my hair, years.
Yeah, I was still in primary school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in that private school you went to.
Well, I went to two.
That old money school where everyone's rich.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Lunch cost like, I think you had to put like a small $500 deposit down for lunch.
Yeah, you'd go in, big hall, you'd have your hot meals.
Yeah, there's usually a 7-course spread.
Would that be the seafood today, Master Ferguson?
It's like, yes, fuck, you don't want it now. Not here for a conversation, I'm here for a feed. That sort of stuff. We all had those, didn't we?
You call over the manager, you say, excuse me, he made eye contact with me.
Exactly. Get them kicked out of class.
Exactly.
Ben Carl says, Panthers broke several defensive records on the weekend and no mention. Then a highlights package of big plays in every game shown except Panthers. Is there a bias?
They don't like us.
Last year, every episode was a Broncos episode, while another team won 17 in a row. I'd like to say that, again, I dealt with this matter by talking about some of the Panthers' defence and the fact that they created history on the weekend by being the first team to start a season with two results where they kept their opponent scoreless. That's never happened before in the first two rounds of a competition.
Yeah.
So, don't be attacking the media, man. This is the media. I'm covering. I've got you all covered. This is why you got to follow independent rugby league content producers and not the mainstream media.
Exactly. Because
we actually do cover the NRL 360, not 36, which I think is what these guys do. Do you think the Bulldogs can bounce back from their opening two games that were disappointing?
Fuck no.
No. Baz says, as if Brett Morris is on less than 250k fucking sucks my cock's brown paper bag.
Okay, that's a pretty reasoned argument.
Yeah, it's not really asking a question.
Yeah, it's more of a statement, isn't it?
It's a pretty clear statement.
That would be a really good thing to put on like a tombstone, hey?
It would be. I would have liked to have seen that one actually come up on NRL 360. Just have Ben Ikin read that one out in his serious nerd voice. Your thoughts, Kenty?
Your thoughts, Kenty? Yeah, he does say that a lot, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't think they use brown paper bags. If their colours are red, white, and blue, they probably find those white paper bags. It suits the colour of the club a bit better.
Yeah, what about those bags, those anti-tear ones that you get from IKEA?
Yeah, they could use those.
Yeah.
As far as sucking cocks, well, they are roosters. Cock is the term for rooster. I don't know if you'd suck on it. I think chewing the chicken is a lot more suitable, I guess, if you want to ingest the thing. He's probably defend them well enough by now.
I feel like if I say anything at all in regards to any of the thoughts you just had, I'll just lead us down a really bad pathway and I'll have to edit the podcast.
Yes. There was no edit point here.
You know what? You know how you get different ways in regions that have different things. I know in St. Helens they don't chew, they suck cock.
That's probably where the edit point is.
I'm not editing that.
Oh, rightio then.
I'm dying on that hill, Andrew.
You're dying on that hill. You're doing on it alone.
I was about to say, and I know Andrew Ferguson endorses it.
I'm not going with you on that hill. That's all yours. There you go. There's something we don't agree on.
Oh, shit.
Why doesn't the NRL follow the ARU in eliminating any contact above the shoulders with an instant 10 minutes or a yellow card in their system? Also getting the refs to grow some balls and start sending players off without them thinking they'll be dropped the week after.
If I was going to look at emulating something successful in sport, the last thing I would do is go and look at anything the ARU is doing.
Look, I can see where he's trying to get at here, okay? The problem is, we already have rules and penalties in place for contacting someone around the head.
Yeah.
You know, if you go out and say, right, we're eliminating any contact above the shoulders, everyone's just going to say, that's the case anyway. Like, if you hit someone high now in the NRL as it is, you get penalised if it's not too bad. And if it is bad, you can very likely get sent off and suspended, which is entirely the same thing that rugby union has.
Yep.
I don't know. Getting the refs to grow some balls and start sending players off. The refs have been sending off more players in the last 3 years than they had done in the 10, 15 years prior to that.
Yeah, it's been great.
How many more testicles do you want them to have?
Yeah, exactly.
Enough they'll be wandering around with a weird gait like George Williams has. See, this is what happens. You end up applying just a little bit of logic and dispel a whole heap of this crap.
Yeah.
But there we go. That's the end of the Ask Kenties for this week.
Yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed this Ask Kenty episode. We've needed to do it. We waited until we were a couple of rounds into the competition, and look what we've done with it.
We've answered all your questions.
We're so good at that.
We know that Kenty doesn't.
No.
Because he doesn't care about you like we care about you.
Exactly. You know what? We want people to send in more emails. We've got 2 emails ready to rock and roll. We're going to do them in the next episode. Yeah. So send in some emails. Go to fergoandthefreak.com, click on the contact section, and send us some emails, ask questions, give your opinions. You know, what would be a question we could ask the listeners?
You know what else is good? Is that people know that we do this Ask Kenty thing.
Yeah.
This is the 8th time we've done it now.
Yeah.
So what they need to do is continue asking Kenty questions, but clearly make it a question that you're asking us, and put our podcast handle in the question for Ask Kenty. So don't actually ask Kenty the question. You're asking us the question, but just put hashtag Ask Kenty on there anyway. Yeah,
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's just fucking hijack the whole thing.
Exactly. If it's good enough for Fox to hijack something, then it's good enough for us.
Exactly.
There we go.
See, when we do it, it's funny.
That's right. Because we're geniuses like that.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Is there anything else we need to mention?
No.
Anything else happened in the world of rugby league?
Obviously the Jared Hayne. I guess we should.
We'll touch on that. He was found guilty of sexual assault.
Yep.
For some reason, Fox has decided that they want to show a graphic 2-second video.
Yeah.
It's
gross. I don't know why they would go down that track, hey?
Look, we've been told already enough about what had happened. We don't need to see any graphic videos. It's a fucking sports thing, for Christ's sake. Just say he's been found guilty and he's going to jail. There's no need for this. It's just fucking stupid reporting going that far.
It really is, and it's it was reported in the media today that he's going to get a custodial sentence, so he's going to jail. It's just a matter of how long. I guess he's probably going to appeal the decision, is my guess, but.
There's a quote he's saying he will definitely appeal the guilty verdict. He said, "I'd rather go to jail knowing I spoke the truth than be a free man living a lie."
Okay, and then this is why you wait for the courts to make a decision, because they get all the evidence, they get to see both sides of it, and they make a determination about what happened. So, hopefully the young lady that was the victim here is being looked after, and it's terrible that something like this happened to her. Yes.
There's no jail sentence for Jared Hayne, no matter how long we'll ever, mend anything that's happened to her, mentally especially.
Yeah.
So it's just a shit situation all around. Hopefully Jared Hayne doesn't get a light sentence because of who he is. If he gets the proper sentence that every other normal person would get if they did something stupid like this and, disgusting like this.
Yep, 100%.
On a slightly lighter note, Mark Guy's fear for Kevy Walters' Broncos reign after a race day drama.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. I just saw the headline and thought, I'll click on this.
Yeah.
Mark Guy's taken aim at Broncos management and claimed Kevin Walters' tenure as Brisbane coach is doomed before it starts if he isn't given total control at Red Hill. Yeah. Walters had a Saturday afternoon out at Eagle Farm cancelled by club bosses in the wake of their derby loss to the Titans. That prompted Gordon Tallis to take aim at Broncos management. Of course it did. Tallis said the Broncos were about to implode and told them to give Walters total support and allow him to bring the club's old boys and current crop of players closer together. Oh, I see. So Kevin Walters has probably planned to have an old boys day where the old guys got together to speak with the new guys, and it was going to be at the races.
And the club cancelled it because they lost.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's kind of weird, don't you think?
Yeah, I think Kevin Walters is clearly trying to create a culture.
Yeah.
And make people aware of how proud the past players are of the club. And how devastated they should be by losses, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
By having this intermingling between the two different groups. And the club bosses are going, no, we can't have that. I bet this is because they didn't want to be reported in the media saying, the day after losing their 37th straight game, they were out at the races and having beers and drinks and shit.
Yeah, I bet you're right. And funnily enough, the organisation that would have done that owns the Broncos.
Yes, and also had been an employer of Kevin Walters.
Yes.
Corey Parker though hit back on Fox League's Big League Rap show, saying the club's obsession with its old boys was unhealthy. He said, "Why are we making a song and dance over a race day that got cancelled? I think you make a decision on what's in the best interest of the team. If the old boys are fair dinkum and they want to turn up and support the team." Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's his opinion. I don't know what the right answer is. Sometimes I feel as though clubs start relying on that stuff too much. I did a tweet during the week that said, as soon as clubs start talking about how special and unique and different they are, they always fail miserably. So you don't want to see a team start thinking about, we're special. You got to understand how special we are, because they'll just keep losing. But at the same time, I can see where Kevin Walters is trying to change direction, and this is maybe one of those steps towards changing the direction of the club.
I think to add to your comment there, it might have been 13 or 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That whoever was the boss of the West Tigers suggested that the West Tigers were potentially going to be the next Manchester United of the NRL.
Oh, really? Oh, jeez.
I find that quote because it was an absolute ball terror. Everyone laughed at him at the time.
Yeah.
And it just gets funnier every year.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's funny because the Newcastle Knights, they did the whole we're a special club. They're terrible. Bulldogs have done it. The Manly Sea Eagles. Every club that does it, they fall into a heap because no one else that's playing in the competition cares. They're too busy improving.
Yep. That's exactly right. The minute you stop and start talking about how great you are is the minute you stop being great.
100%.
Well, that's pretty much wrapped up the news, I think. Was there anything else?
No, I think that's it.
I don't think there's anything that was worthwhile talking on.
A comprehensive podcast.
Absolutely. Kent wanted an 8-game ban for Kafusi over his elbow.
Oh, wow.
He called it disgraceful and gutless.
Well, I'm glad he had another measured approach.
Yeah, he probably said at the end of the show, too, that he thought it deserved just a warning. That's how he rolls.
Yeah.
See, he doesn't sit on the fence. He sits on both sides of the fence. He sits around the fence.
Do you reckon that, if you sat him down and said, dude, why do you say this stuff? And just, is so extreme with it. And he says, listen, I've got to be on air 2 hours a week. And they've said to me, just say something more extreme, and earn a lot of money doing it.
I reckon they'll probably just say, put out as many opinions as possible because this is going to be the stuff that we're going to have to write about tomorrow.
Probably, hey.
And sure enough, it's already happening.
Corey Parker responds to Paul Kent, who answered a question from Ben Eichen.
Exactly. Every single article on there is, this is what our employee said about something.
Yeah.
There was the thing on the Daily Telegraph website saying that the NRL is coming out swinging over headshots finally, but I don't know what the hell it's about.
When have headshots ever been allowed in rugby league after 1970? They've been illegal for forever now.
Yeah, well, even before then, if you hit someone with an illegal shot, a headshot was always deemed illegal.
Yeah.
Even back in the 20s. You remember in the Duncan Thompson episode, there was an incident where apparently one player was on the ground trying to grab a ball, and he kicked at it, and the allegation was that he kicked at the player's head instead of the ball, and they got a suspension for it. Mm-hmm. So striking at the head was illegal in 1923.
Yeah.
That hasn't fucking changed.
Yeah.
100 years ago.
It's a crackdown.
Ingrained in the game's history. It's just always been there. You don't do malicious shit on the field.
No.
There's a reason it's in rugby union. There's a reason why the French rugby union competitions and teams got kicked out of the IRB back in the 20s and 30s because there was so much violence on the field. They were killing each other on the field.
Yeah.
It's just it's a common accepted fact across any contact sport. You don't attack the head.
No.
Anyway, that's it. I think we're done.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can catch us on Twitter and Instagram at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on MySpace, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So check us all out on there. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast app. And also don't forget, manscaped.com.
Yes, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code NRL. Get the performance package. Get the whole kit. Get it for yourself. And get it while this deal lasts. This deal is not going to last forever. So go and do it right now.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget, they've got the weed whacker too to get rid of those nose hairs. So, they're thinking not just about your nuts, but about your nose as well.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So check that out too. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you all next time.